Hello and welcome to the Album Man, and today I'm going to be doing a review of Marillion's Sounds That Can't Be Made. And this is their 17th studio album, which was released on the 17th of September 2012, and like some of their previous albums, they use the crowdfunding thing to raise money, and people who donated to it got special editions, but the version I'm reviewing is just the normal standard edition. Now, in general, I do just want to say that, I'm a Fish Era fan, through and through, Misplaced Childhood, Clutching at Straws, Script for a Jester's Tear, and Fugazi is okay. But, I do enjoy Hogarth Era. I think, Afraid of Sunlight, Brave, Season's End, really great album. Well, they're decent albums. I think the main problem I have with the current Hogarth Era is that there's great songs, but just not great albums. Season's End or whatever, it's still a good album from start to finish, but some of their later stuff, like Happiness is the Road and Marbles, I find as albums, they're not as good. So, is this a consistent album, or does this suffer from having the odd good song, but most of it not so? Okay, so the opening track on this album is Gaza, and this is the longest track on the album, coming in at 17 minutes 30. And so, as usual, I was anticipating this song due to my love of long, progressive epics. However, what I found in Marillion's trip to Gaza is that it's not a pleasant place to live in, nor one to listen to particularly. And as I'm sure the, song is about, war-torn Gaza Strip, to do with the ever-escalating conflict between Palestine and Israel, which really seems to have been sparking particularly the last few days, actually. But this song is from the Palestinian viewpoint, and it's certainly a very political song, one of the most political Marillion songs I know of. And, it's covering a very interesting and, sad topic. And, reminds me why I detest religion so much. But, anyway, the music starts with some decent piano, and very much, in general, it's very much a vocally driven song, I'd say. There are no particularly long instrumental segments in the song, really not many, well, not really any at all. There are, solos, but not particularly. And the thing is, so this is 17 minutes 30, roughly, and I have problems with the first 12 minutes of this song. I think even though lyrically it's fantastic, lyrically I can't fault the song as a whole, and it's spot on about the themes, I just think that musically, for the first 12 minutes, it just seems to be convoluted without direction. I mean, you can't really see where it's going, and not in a good way. It's almost confusing and seems to change more than Dream Theater's time signatures. I mean, vocally, though, it's spectacular. Some of the lines Hogarth sings are just so haunting and beautifully sung, and, they go through you. But up until about 12 minutes, I just find the song fairly dull, to be honest. It's just not exciting. I was just bored, head in my hands, just like, oh, when's this going to be over? Now, what happens at 12 minutes? Why only the first 12 minutes? Well, but the song finds a direction, basically, and that drastically improves it. Oh, and Wothery seems to wake up and start performing to the standard I expect from a guitarist such as himself. I think he's a massively underrated guitarist and a fantastic guitarist. So, when the verse starting "Nothing's Ever Simple" at around 12 minutes comes in, Hogarth's voice over, it's just Hogarth's voice over a piano combined with the odd note from Wothery, and it's really beautiful and powerful. Especially when you hear Hogarth almost bellowing, "It just ain't right," and straight after Wothery comes in with a killer solo, and until the end it becomes a fantastic song. It's just the first 12 minutes really ruin what could have been a classic song. I feel that it had potential, but it's just so dull. The first 12 minutes almost reminds me of King Crimson's Moonchild. As much as I love King Crimson, that song is just, oh God, boring as hell. And yeah, it's just, this is just a dull song in general. Yes, it does wake up, but I just can't forgive it for those first 12 minutes of absolute sheer boredom. Anyway, after one of the longest looks at a song I've done since I looked at Rush's 2112, let's have a look at the other 7 songs. So, track 2, the title track, Sounds That Can't Be Made. And this is about 7 minutes 15, and I can't say it stands out. Its chorus isn't exactly afraid of sunlight, not that I was expecting it to be, but it just didn't capture me. I didn't hate the song, but to me it just represented the stylistic change between the Fish and Hogarth eras, and as I said, I'm not a big fan of the stylistic change, to be honest. I mean, the guitar solo is decent, and the end, I suppose, is okay, but it's just forgettable. It's not that good, not very enjoyable, a bit tedious, to be honest. And then we get to Pour My Love, and it starts with some good old keyboards, and it appears to be a ballad, and is a nice ballad, to be honest. It's definitely pleasant. Again, it's like quite a lot of Hogarth era songs. It's not bad, I don't love them, and I don't hate them. I probably won't even remember the tune by tomorrow. I mean, it ain't bad, it's just very averagey, not very memorable, not particularly catchy. Just, it's a nothing song, really, to be honest. It's not bad, it's a pleasant ballad, you know, pleasant, simple as. But then we do get on to Power. And I did do a track review for this song, but I'll still talk about it. Now, in my review, I praised this song and said it was fantastic, one of my new favourite Hogarth era Marillion songs. You know what? It still bloody is. This is how you do a Marillion song. It doesn't bore you until, you know, an okay conclusion. This song, it takes you up and down, ascending for the chorus as beautiful and elegantly as it descends from that same plateau. If they made more songs like this, then this would be one of my albums of the year. But it isn't. All I have to say about this track, it's stunning, absolutely stunning. Shame it appears to be more of an anomaly on this album. But there is another very good song on the album. But now it's Montreal. So we take a trip to Montreal, and this is a nice 14-minute trip, but maybe nice was the wrong word to use. It starts decently enough, it appears to have a focus, which is something at least. And it shows signs of progressing, but then it drifts off into some dull as dishwater soundscapes, like soundscape type stuff, and it doesn't impress. I mean, when Hogarth's voice is in full swing, I can't help but think, yeah, you know, this is okay. But in general, it just suffers as being nearly as dull as a collaboration between Steve Wilson and Michael Ackerfeld, Storm Corrosion. And, you know, this song, it's not for me. I can't say I enjoyed it, to be honest. Wouldn't really listen to it again. Very tedious, again. Fairly dull, again. Then Invisible Ink. This is the shortest song on the album, and may start out slower than a snail on sand, but it actually goes somewhere. Yay! I mean, it isn't exactly Power, but it's a step up from Montreal. One of the slightly better songs on the album, I'd say. Still, it's not up to the standard I expect from Marillion, for God's sake. I mean, but then the penultimate song, Lucky Man, and this is, it starts out really nicely before Hogarth comes in. Really like the lyrics of the song, talking about taking things for granted, and they're structured really well. The song, it's just a breath of fresh air among the fairly stale, except for Power, of course, album. And this is just a beautiful power ballad, and what I want from Marillion. It has a really catchy chorus, consistently building and relieving the levels of sound. Superb solo from Rothery as well. It's 7 minutes of great Marillion. The rest of the album, again, was like this, and Power, it'd be just phenomenal. It would be one of the album of the year contenders for sure. But it's just out of the, 8 songs on this album so far, there's 2 out of the 7 we've looked at. Well, let's at least look at the last song, The Sky Above the Rain. And this is a 10-minute epic, and yes, well, maybe not quite epic is the best word to use, but it's a good song. It's definitely a nice, beautiful, haunting song, and a strong end to the album, as Rothery's solos soar to the end. It's definitely a stronger song. So what? That's about 3 out of 8 songs that are decent. That's not good enough for an album from Marillion. Yes, the end of Gaza is pretty decent, but the first 12 minutes bore you so much you couldn't care less. this album, it's just a big disappointment. Just like the last few albums, there's some good songs, as I said on here, there's Power, Lucky Man, but the rest just feels like dull, bland filler. This isn't an awful album. I don't absolutely hate it. I just don't particularly like it. It's not something I'm really going to be playing much. I'll maybe play Power and maybe even Lucky Man from time to time, but this is not an album I'm going to be sitting down listening to anytime soon. Anytime soon. It's a below average album, but still it does have its highlights, so it's a 4.5 out of 10 from me. So this has been the Album Man. Thank you for watching, comment, rate, subscribe, and as usual, long live rock and roll.